Shakuras is gone. It has become one with the eternal night. But the traditions we forged there will remain with us forever.
Is that still possible, Matriarch?
More so than you may realize. What do you know of the Shadow Walk, Artanis?
Little. Your people closely guard their customs.
It is our most sacred rite of passage. The Initiate stands alone. Members of her tribe strike against her from the shadows. If she endures, she becomes a Shadow Hunter, true Dark Templar.
Why do you speak of this?
You stood alone, as Dark Templar, against countless enemies, risking your life for the many. You have walked as we have. You have walked the Shadow Path already, Artanis. You no longer have the Kala. You are Dark Templar.
All right, welcome back. StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void, Episode 9, Temple of Unification, getting underway.
The Nerazim fought valiantly beside us, even unto the destruction of their world. Why?
Their homeworld has always been Ire. They have never forgotten it, or the sacrifice that delivered them to safety.
You speak of Adun. So saith Judicator Zentheon. Adun failed to eradicate the rogue tribes, those who call themselves the Dark Templar. We witnessed the burst of the Twilight Star. In that treasonous instant, Adun ushered the heretics and himself to fate, purifying Ire of their taint, but allowing them life.
Treason? Adun chose mercy rather than committing genocide. This was a noble act, Preserver.
Was it? I see history through the eyes of those who lived it, Artanis.
Perhaps this is why you are blind to all that is before you. History's truths are only ever understood looking through the backwards lens, seeing its consequences take root.
As a preserver, I have always experienced history as a living, breathing now, as those who experienced it in the moment did. Perhaps I should consider the way you view it.
An Arudin, Shakuras.
Hierarch, I see the master construction of the Xel'Naga now. Their understanding that energy, essence, and information are all one. Each interchangeable, each mutable.
Then you uncovered the information Zeratul foresaw within this keystone.
I have. From what I understand, it will lead us to Ulnar.
Ulnar. It is a place of myth. A realm whispered of in our legends.
The homeworld of the Xel'Naga. I believe the keystone can project its location.
Show me, Karax.
It cannot be. I must be in error.
The Altarian Rift.
That is impossible. Nothing can survive within such unrelenting forces. It appears I have failed you, Hierarch.
I do not believe so, Karax. It is said that the Xel'Naga came from a place where no life should be. This aligns with Zeratul's prophecies. We will go in. Make preparations at once. Zeratul, many thought you mad. And yet, once more, you have seen truer than us all. The keystone leads us into the Altarian Rift, to the Xel'Naga home of Ulnar. It is my destiny to carry your mantle, old friend. I will wake the Xel'Naga and honor your legacy.
Yet here we stand, between universes.
Zeratul was right. It is Ulnar. Think of it, Matriarch. The cradle of all life, hidden all these years.
Yes, but why?
Okay, so obviously we've traveled on to Ulnar. You may have noticed on the star map there was no other place to go. And at this point in the game, once you've done all the missions we've done, in whatever order you've done them, you get forced to come here. So we're here, let's talk to people.
I pondered the events that brought me here. There is much I should remember, but do not. My body is machine, like the purifiers.
But you are not like them.
I must know the truth of what I am.
What you will uncover may not be desirable.
It is time I face that.
The ship's data center has uploaded the recent annals and has much of the history you have lost. I hope you find the answers you seek, friend Phoenix.
How Zeratul foresaw the Keystone would lead us here is uncanny. It is now clear that it was this device's primary purpose.
Zeratul was in touch with an expression of reality beyond my understanding.
This place should not exist. It defies all decrees of science, shatters all understanding of astral mechanics.
I once thought we Protoss had reached the pinnacle of attainable knowledge. I was a fool. There is far more in the galaxy than exists within Protoss understanding, friend Karax. I know this now.
Okay, and while we're down here for our Spear of Adun abilities, we're going to back off a Chrono Surge for this next mission and just do Deploy Pylon. We'll keep Solar Lance on the second column, and then with the freed up Solarite, we'll activate Orbital Assimilators, which allows us to extract Vespene gas from the extractors without having to man them with probes. And then we'll max out bonus starting supply and just back 2 off of bonus construction time.
It is hard to believe we stand above Ulnar, the home of the Ihan-Ri, the Xel'Naga. The Judicators theorized the Xel'Naga left Aiur to return to a place such as this. It is said they slumbered through the ages.
Zeratul believed the artifact would lead us unto hope. The Xel'Naga may be the hope he spoke of.
If the legends are true, then the Xel'Naga are below, awaiting their children to awaken them.
Then let us hope so.
Okay, as for our unit factions and the assembly panel, everything's going to stay the same, except I'm going to go back to Stalker in the ranged warrior category.
I am here in the shadows.
They're generally what we go with. Sometimes we'll use the third faction once we unlock that, but again, we just used Dragoons for Last Stand, so now we're back to Stalkers.
Hierarch, it appears we cannot receive transmissions while we are within the rift. We have been cut off.
The Spear of Adun's sensors have located what appears to be an accessway into the temple. Our starships are prepared to move on your command.
Here lies the resting place of the Xel'Naga. We must find a way to unseal this accessway if we are to awaken them. Grand Preserver, what do you know of the temple in the depths below?
Only myth, legend. Here upon Ulnar, the destined races will seek ascension. Their very presence shall open the way forward. I believe these celestial locks are the key. Our forces should claim them in the hopes the way forward presents itself.
Hierarch, the Tal'Darim are here. They are taking control of the celestial locks.
The voice's demands are clear. Keep the temple sealed.
As long as they control the locks, the secrets of the temple will remain hidden from us.
Warriors, engage the enemy and reclaim the locks. Amon will not have his victory so easily.
Our stargates can now warp in phoenixes. They are extremely mobile and effective at engaging our enemy across long distances.
Okay, so our first starfighter unit, the Phoenix, and you'll recognize them from In Utter Darkness, the final mission in the Prophecy line, way back in Wings of Liberty. They're that fighter jet that has, it's called a gravitron beam. Remember, we would use it to pick up the hybrid. They would kind of like pick them up in a big glowing ball and just sort of hold them there, and then other things would shoot at them. So they're a great kind of crowd control unit. The downside is Phoenix cannot attack ground units. I mean, they can lift them up and then hit them while they're in the air, but A, that takes energy, and B, if it's just something like a structure, they can't pick that up and attack it, and they can't otherwise attack it. So they are a little bit limited. But the gravitron beam is cool, and they move incredibly fast. They're like the Mutalisk from the Zerg bestiary. They move and cover a lot of ground extremely fast. So we're going to use a lot of them on this mission.
Teleport successful.
I am here in the shadows.
Amon's forces are inbound to our nexus point.
Okay, so a good example there of the gravitron beam. You probably remember it now that you see it. And also the Energizer. You see the little orange glowy sentries that I made a couple of. That's the Purifier faction version of the sentry.
You have not enough minerals.
And they have that buff. It's kind of an orange swirly thing that orbits around the units, and that speeds up movement and attack speed. So we're going to be using them on this mission, and they're a lot of fun. Now, base-wise, I had to make some units pretty quickly, hold off on full-blown expansion. You see, I did come down here and put a couple orbital assimilators on the geysers just to start grabbing free gas, but I had to hold off on making the Nexus, upgrades, and other structures until now.
Hierarch, the Tal'Darim have deployed a titanic warp prism. If its core is similar to our own, the reactor is made of pure solarite. If possible, we should destroy it and claim the reactor to enhance our solar core.
Okay, so that'll be the bonus objective. It's like it sounds. It's a big warp prism floating around out there, and it moves about. You can see it moving on the mini-map. It's the kind of yellow, circular, pulsing icon. It does have a very heavy escort, though. Lots of like carriers and void rays with it, so you have to either be very beefed up by the time you get to it, or you have to wear it down with like solar lance over time and stuff like that. Now, as for the main objective, activate the celestial locks. They're marked on the mini-map, the 5 red sort of plus signs. What you have to do is move your forces there, clear out any enemy forces occupying the lock's sort of general vicinity.
Upgrade complete.
And then you have to kind of hold it for a few seconds. You'll see a progress bar, and then it's kind of like you capture that little zone immediately around the celestial lock. When you see it, this will all make sense. Well, the thing is, once you capture it, if you like leave and then enemies come, they can capture it back. So what happens a lot in this mission is you'll kind of strike out, do a little offensive, take a lock or two, and then while you're somewhere else with your forces, the enemy will come and kind of retake what you've already taken, and it ends up causing it to just stretch out and go on and on. It's really annoying. So the way I choose to play it is to just kind of build up, typical B burner style, get good and strong, and then make one big, massive, fast strike. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to build up. The mission has actually given me a lot of trouble, and I've tried it a lot of different ways. Some people like this mission. I actually really don't. It's pretty frustrating. But I found that this way tends to work pretty well, so that's what we're going to go with here.
Teleport successful.
Adam Sayos, I walk the shadowed path. Our blades meet the enemy.
Our pylon is under attack. Teleport successful. Teleport successful.
Okay, so going with a little static defense on our base and expansion area here, and truthfully, this isn't like Last Stand. You can't just pump out a bunch of defense and make it. Really all this is just to buy you time, because these attacks keep coming and they make the mission really annoying.
Teleport successful.
And the other thing is, you notice from the left, kind of the top left, came Protoss, which are presumably the Tal'Darim, and then from the right came Terran, which are presumably Mobius. So you have two forces kind of, you know, getting you in a pincher attack, and one of the best ways, although it does kind of draw the mission out a little bit, but not too much, one of the best ways to deal with that is to take one of them out, or obviously both. But if you just can get one of them out of the way, then it makes the mission a lot easier. So that's the other part of my strategy, is I'm going to go after the Terrans because they're not as hard as the Protoss to break their base, and they're going to be on the right. So I'm going to build up and then eventually strike out and try to break the Terran's base.
Our pylon is under attack. Your warriors have engaged the enemy.
Engaging the enemy. I am the heart of darkness.
Now, unit-wise, you're seeing lots of starports, gateways, and robotics facilities not placed very well. I don't know if you notice up there, there's an immortal who's stuck. I eventually realize it and fix it, but It's another thing that makes the mission hard, is you need all these different types of forces, and because you have land units and air units, you need both sets of upgrades, etc. I think if you just went with Phoenix and tried to be really fast about taking all the locks before the enemy could respond and take them back, I think that would actually work. But if you want to do anything like I'm doing, like going to break one of the enemy bases, then you're going to need ground units. So that's what the Immortals are for, is taking out the enemy structures. Zealots are there just because they're cheap units that only cost minerals. And then obviously the Phoenix help with all the air units. And as long as they have energy, they can help with the crowd control and pick up ground units. And then the Energizers just help me move fast and attack fast. So that's the strat, and that's what we're going with, Big Dev.
Upgrade complete. Teleport successful. I return to serve. Base is under attack. Our pylon is under attack.
Cold is the void. It shall be as we are one with it.
Okay, not a bad defense. Generally, if you have Solar Lance to take out one side that's coming at you, and then your army the other, then you're good to go. If you're not here and all that you have is this static defense, even though it looks like I've really, overdone it, it'll just get broken pretty quickly. So again, you can't completely just leave this alone, but if you time it right and you take out one of their bases, or you're on the offensive, then it kind of changes things. And generally, once you're out and about, you can get it to the point where you're only dealing with one of the enemies, and as long as you have Solar Lance, then that can handle them. You see here, I realized that this pylon is kind of blocking these Immortals, so I'm taking it out so that they can get free and join the rest of the army.
You have not enough minerals.
So yeah, you can't just stay here. The other thing you're noticing about the attacks is they're bringing like Colossi and siege tanks and Ravens, like they're bringing stronger and stronger waves. So at a certain point we really do need to just get out and go, but I'm going to try to get as close to supply cap as possible and also get all my upgrades done, so that once we get on the move, we can really do some damage. And if we need to get back, then we can get back, kind of thing.
I return to serve.
Let our enemy.
I return to serve. Our pylon is under attack. You require more Vespine gas.
For the reckoning.
Once Amon's forces have been defeated, our warriors' presence should allow us to lay claim to the lock.
The lock is now ours. These energy patterns indicate once we control the other four, the temple will open.
State thy bidding. Very well.
Warriors, pull back from the enemy base. We must focus on the celestial locks.
So you can see there just how devastating and how quick an unattended attack can be, but we were able to, you know, fend it off pretty well, and we didn't lose a Nexus. So at this point, we did really well breaking that Terran base, and I wanted to just move my guys back home. But see there, the Immortals take a really bad route, and now I have to just do more fighting.
To strike. On the wings of justice. Be on guard. Amon's servants are moving to seize a lock. Warp field online.
Okay, because of that alert, I go ahead and put our guys over on that lock that we've already taken to defend it. It's not a big deal if we lose one that has been taken, but I'd prefer not to. Now the weird thing is it takes a long time for the attack to come, so in the meantime I'm just rebuilding some gateways that we lost, putting up a little bit more static defense to buy us some time, etc. And then also, you know, rebuild the army as we took some losses. The good news is we did a great job over there breaking that Terran base. It's not completely broken, and there's still some to do before they just completely don't ever bother us again, but we made, you know, great progress. So I was happy about that, and we just need to kind of sit tight and then finish them off in the next push.
Engaging the enemy. I stalk through the storms. On the wings of justice. I will comply.
Okay, that was me just using some spare energy on Solar Lance to clear out some of the escort around the bonus objective. Generally, you want to save Solar Lance for defense, but since I'm in a rebuilding kind of phase right now and my army's very close to base, I go ahead and just use it there to kind of start working on that.
Your pro base is under attack. Teleport successful. The enemy closes. Mineral field depleted. Mineral field depleted. Mineral field depleted.
So resources starting to run out, which isn't really a problem. I have enough at this point to just build what I need to build, go after, get the bonus objective, get the main objectives, move on. But just in case, I go ahead and send the probe over to that Terran base we just broke to kind of set up an expansion there.
You require more Vespine gas.
And one thing I noticed when you do that is you never get bothered over there. No attacks ever really come that way. So It's pretty much just free resources. You might as well go grab them, whether you really need them or not.
Mineral
Teleport successful.
Upgrade complete.
Amon's forces have claimed a mechanism. It is done. I am warping the vessel's cargo aboard for further study.
So you see there just how quickly you can lose one of these locks once you've taken it. I mean, if you have guys there, it doesn't get deactivated that quickly. The enemy has to wipe you out and then they deactivate it. But again, my point is, you see why you want to just try to get it all in one fell swoop at the end if you can, and not have to do this dancing around the map.
Return to third. Upgrade complete. Engaging the enemy. Base is under attack. The enemy closes. Engaging the enemy. Mineral field depleted.
All 5 locks have been captured, Hierarch. The access way is opening.
It seems Amon's forces have drawn back. I sense only a great stillness from within the temple.
Then we have succeeded. It will not be long before we see what fate has in store for us.
Alright, the way is clear, and at long last, we can go meet the Xel'Naga. Temple of Unification. This is StarCraft 2, Legacy of the Void. We'll see you in the next episode.